Welcome back, friends. Today, I want to talk to you about Vindictus Defying Fate and the upcoming Alpha 1 test that's scheduled for June of this year, 2025. And I did just want to update you on some of the new things that they've added for this upcoming alpha test. So for the pre-alpha test, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any gameplay from that one because at the time, my computer was pretty old and just wasn't really up to par to be able to play the game itself. And apart from that, the devs did note that there were a bunch of technical issues behind the scenes that were preventing a lot of people from playing the game. So I wasn't alone in that. But sadly, at the time, I just wasn't able to get any of the gameplay of the pre-alpha test. However, this time around, I do have a new computer, up to date, brand new, top of the line. So with any luck, I shouldn't have that issue again. So I do plan to hopefully be able to play the Alpha 1 test and bring some of that gameplay to you once it comes out. Now, for the alpha tests, they did introduce a couple of new things into it. For the pre-alpha, it was very basic, very bare bones, basically just focusing on testing the battle mechanics and checking out to see how the engine was able to handle the stress of the battle mechanics while playing the game. However, this time around, they did add a few new things to it. So for example, I'm just going to touch on the main topics and then we'll get into them, into the specifics. So primarily, they added some new gameplay mechanics. They also added in some new battle mechanics. And finally, they did add in 2 new characters to play as well. So if you check out the Vindictus Defying Fate YouTube channel, you'll notice that they also dropped a alpha test trailer on that channel to show you a little bit of what's coming up. But I don't know if many people followed this as well, but a couple of months back, they also shared the new trailer for the new characters that were coming out. And those 2 new characters, and specifically, are Karok and Delia. And I will get into that and the specifics on those characters a little bit later in this video. So to begin with, let's check out some of the new gameplay mechanics. So previously in the pre-alpha, if you saw any of the videos or were able to get in, you'd notice that there isn't too much to do when you're moving around the field. So essentially you could maybe run, walk, and maybe move through some rocks and just fight the enemies. There really wasn't too much else to do at the time because, again, the focus there was mainly to test the battle mechanics and to see what worked and what didn't work. However, this time around for the alpha test, they did add in some new field elements. So now you have the ability to climb ladders to reach higher areas. You can ride zip lines, which I imagine is more for getting down or towards another location faster. You also can use grappling hooks to pull down bridges and other items, and hopefully you can also use that to pull enemies towards you. Now that would be a really useful tool. And finally, you can open treasure chests. Now in the pre-alpha, there were some areas where it looked like there should be some treasure chests and that you can open them, but I believe they noted that with some sort of signpost letting us know that those assets weren't ready just yet. But this time around, it does look like you will be able to find and open treasure chests and hopefully find something fun and useful along the way. Now, on to the new battle mechanics. And for these, I think this is really going to spice up the game a bit. During the pre-alpha, while they were testing the battle mechanics, it was fairly basic. You had the weak attacks, the strong attacks, and some type of dodge or defense. And that was pretty much it. However, there was lacking a lot of things like special attacks, maybe finishers, or maybe spells, unique skills, things of that nature, which I know maybe a lot of people are not a fan of. But this being Vindictus, there is likely going to be a lot of that in this game. And of course, as you can see here, there are a few new additions to the battle mechanics that they've added for Alpha 1 test. So we do have what's referred to as special action. And essentially what this is, if you read through it carefully, this refers to what many might know as parry or perfect guard, perfect dodge. And essentially what this lets you do is if you use the specific momentum of the enemy's attack, you can either parry their attack and push them back or do a specific timed dodge and then use that momentum to strike back with a powerful counterattack. Now, the details do say that some characters can block while others can dodge. Essentially, what this means is that not every character can do both. So essentially, let's take Fiona, for example, with her shield. She should be able to block and use that time to attack. Whereas Lan, who is focused more on agility and speed-based attacks, would likely utilize the perfect dodge to be able to get in some counterattacks. So it really will vary on the type of character you play, which I think is a good thing because it allows you to take that into account and decide which type of playstyle you prefer. Now, they also added in a stagger gauge. In the pre-alpha, I was aware that watching some of the videos, when you fight the boss monsters, after inflicting a certain amount of damage, they would get staggered and would have some openings for you to get in there and do a lot of damage. However, I didn't notice any type of stagger gauge. So in this case, they did add in a stagger gauge, and with that stagger gauge, they actually introduced a new battle mechanic as well. So it sort of leads into that new mechanic. And the new mechanic is called Fatal Action. And this is essentially when you attack enough and you build up the stagger gauge on the enemy, they will get knocked into a stagger state. And once in that stagger state, then you can use a powerful attack known as Fatal Action that will deal some type of very heavy damage, I imagine. And essentially what this is, Fatal Action, is pretty much the same as the ultimate attack for the original Vindictus game. And in the original Vindictus, you would be able to use the ultimate on pretty much any boss at any given time, but there were specific instances where you couldn't do that on specific bosses. And essentially, this is sort of adding into that. So to make it a little more challenging, you'd have to use that at a specific time. So you'd have to carefully watch the boss's stagger gauge, use attacks to build up the gauge and use it at a good time. So it does make it a little more tactical, not being able to just use it at any time, but having to take that into account while you fight. Now, I know this might not make everyone happy because a lot of people did mention that they preferred the pre-alpha sort of battle style, which was very basic, but also allowed a very high skill ceiling to be able to play and defeat the enemies. However, I believe it's important to add a little bit more depth to the sort of battles that you're going to get into because not everyone is inclined to fight at that very high skill ceiling. So a lot of people who are not hardcore players may get turned off by the extremely hardcore playstyle. But not just that, also because Vindictus already has a history for being a very stylish and action-oriented game as opposed to being more Souls-like, which for many people may seem a little bit slower, a little bit clunkier, and more difficult at times. So I feel like this is sort of just part of the lifeblood of Vindictus as a whole, being that it is a stylish action RPG type of game. Now, thankfully, every character will have their own special fatal action attacks and special actions as well. So based on who you prefer more, you will be able to use those attacks to your advantage to take down your enemies faster and in a more fun and exciting fashion. Now we move on to the two new characters. We have Karok and Delia. We're going to start with Karok. Now, for Karok, I believe he was the best choice for the next character to be played. And the reason for that is because he does play a lot of roles in the game, not only as a damage dealer, but also as a grappler. Also, he can take a fair bit of damage as a tank. And furthermore, he has a very unique ability in the original Vindictus to be able to clash with big boss monsters to make them stop, to knock them down, and to do other very unique special attacks. And now, because of Karok's unique position, he is almost fundamental for the ecosystem of Vindictus, being that he's able to do all of these things and help the party members during the big, large-scale fights, such as the large boss monsters, raids, dragon raids, things of that nature. I'm not 100% sure how that will flow into the new Vindictus Defying Fate mechanics, because it isn't quite as large scale, I imagine, as the original Vindictus. However, being that he's able to do all these things, I think he will definitely be one of the next best characters to play if hopefully they add or keep many of those same mechanics as they have in the original. Now, Delia is also another good choice for this type of character, which is that she wields a large two-handed sword and is fairly swift on her feet for carrying around such a large sword. There is rather another character that uses a great sword in the Vindictus universe, which is Herc. However, at the time of Herc's release, for whatever reason, the playstyle wasn't really matching what a lot of people thought it should be. And I do remember at the time that there was a lot of discussion on it. A lot of people weren't happy with how he played. And I think that all added up to the way he used his weapon. It wasn't so much using it as a greatsword, but more just like a large chunk of metal, a large tool where he would flail it around, stab it into enemies. The side had like a serrated edge where you can rip through the enemies. And not that he isn't a good character per se, but it just didn't quite capture that feel of a refined claymore or greatsword user. However, for Delia, it does feel a little bit more smooth in her actions and her attack patterns. So I feel like maybe she was the better choice for this instead of her for that reason. So she can deal out a lot of damage. And again, her movements are fast, so she can definitely dodge when she needs to. However, I feel like maybe one of her drawbacks may be that her attacks may come at a cost of her stats. So essentially, if she swings, you may have to pull off the full combo, and you may not have as much leeway to be able to maneuver until that combination is done. Obviously, the playstyles for these two new characters are purely speculative and just my observation and my opinion, so things could go very differently depending on how they build these characters in the alpha test coming up. But overall, I feel like these are a good few changes that they made, especially adding in those new battle mechanics that should hopefully make the battles more interesting and more unique and definitely a lot more fun. So again, Vindictus Defying Fate Alpha 1 test scheduled for June 2025, coming soon, and I will hopefully, with any luck, most definitely bring you some gameplay from that, and hopefully I'll have enough time to be able to try each and every character there. So land Fiona, and then the new two characters, Karok and Delia. And of course, I will be more than happy to bring you any new news or updates about the upcoming Vindictus Defying Fate game as it progresses. Are you excited for the upcoming alpha test and new additions to the game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoy content like gameplays, narratives, game reviews, gaming news, and commentary, consider giving this video a like and subscribe to The Hero's Blade. Until next time, we wish you all the best, and God bless.